Have you ever heard the one about goldfish having only a 3-second memory? Or maybe the persistent claim that ostriches bury their heads in the sand when they're afraid? And what about the common belief that bats are completely blind? Or that chameleons change colour solely for camouflage? If you answered yes to any of those, prepare to be surprised. Today, we are going to debunk 50 of the most persistent and popular animal myths, misconceptions you've probably accepted as fact your entire life. Which of these facts shocked you the most? Get ready, because after watching in this video, your perception of the animal kingdom will never be the same. And yes, you might even laugh at how widespread some of these simple errors are. For centuries, humans have tried to make sense of the animal kingdom surrounding them. Simple observations, guesswork, superstition, and folklore have always mingled together, creating entire layers of ingrained beliefs, many of which persist even today. Some myths arose from an incomplete understanding of animal behaviour, others from simple mistakes, and a few were even made up entirely for entertainment or moral lessons. Centuries have passed and science has advanced significantly, yet many of these old ideas about our fellow creatures have proven incredibly resilient. Today, we are arming ourselves with knowledge and setting off on a fascinating journey to separate fact from fiction and finally understand why these myths have held such a strong grip on our collective consciousness for so long. Myth number 1, the idea that goldfish only have a 3-second memory. I am sure you have heard this repeated countless times. Actually, extensive research has proven that goldfish are highly capable learners. They can remember, retain information, and even associate specific sounds with feeding time. They are adept at navigating complex mazes and even have the ability to recognize the people who care for them, their owners. Simply put, their memory is far more robust and developed than the common myth suggests. Just picture the illustration: a goldfish confidently pointing its little fin at a complicated mathematical formula scrawled across a whiteboard. Myth number 2, lemmings commit mass suicide. This dramatic image is frequently linked to these tiny rodents. However, lemmings don't willingly fling themselves off cliffs and into the sea. In years of overpopulation, they actively migrate in search of new territories and food sources. During these mass migrations, they may accidentally tumble from high bluffs or drown in waterways. These are tragic accidents, not a conscious act of self-destruction. Visual cue. Picture a humorous illustration here. A lemming is staring confusedly at a steep drop, only to shrug and turn toward where it calculates the nearest patch of food must be. Myth number 3, ostriches bury their heads in the sand when sensing danger. This is one of the most famous myths, and it's the origin of the expression ostrich policy. In reality, ostriches may lie flat on the ground and stretch out their necks to blend in with their surroundings, particularly when they are nesting. They also dig shallow nests for laying their eggs. They frequently bend down into these nests to rotate the eggs or check their condition. To an observer, this posture might look exactly like the bird's head is buried in the sand. But let's be clear, they absolutely never hide their heads in the sand out of fear. For the accompanying illustration, you could show an ostrich diligently pecking and digging in the sand, completely oblivious to a predator walking right past it. Myth number 4, bats are blind. This is simply not true. Bats actually have excellent eyesight, even if their vision isn't as sharp as that of many other animals. They primarily rely on echolocation. They emit ultrasonic sound waves, and by interpreting the reflected signal, they determine the location of objects and prey. This allows them to navigate perfectly, even in complete darkness. Imagine a bat wearing night vision goggles, confidently maneuvering between the trees. Myth number 5, that chameleons change colour solely for camouflage. While camouflage is definitely one reason they change colour, that ability has far more uses. Chameleons also shift their colours to communicate with each other, to signal their mood, attract a mate, or ward off a rival. Furthermore, colour helps them regulate body temperature. Darker colours absorb more heat, while lighter shades reflect it. Picture this: a chameleon rapidly changing from vibrant red to soft blue, sticking out its tongue as if to declare, It's not just camouflage. Myth number 6. Cats always land on their feet. This claim is often taken as absolute gospel. It is true that cats possess an incredible righting reflex, allowing them to swiftly orient themselves mid-air to ensure a poor first landing. However, this is definitely not a foolproof guarantee. If the fall is too short, the cat might not have enough time to execute the necessary body adjustments. Conversely, if the fall is too high, even landing on their feet can lead to severe and serious injuries. So while they are incredibly agile, the risks are always present. Picture a cat tumbling from a relatively low height, realizing in the final split second, with genuine surprise, that it hasn't had the time to stick the landing. Myth number 7. The belief that dogs sweat by sticking out their tongues. In reality, dogs sweat very little, and only through the sweat glands located on their paw pads. The primary way dogs regulate their body temperature is indeed through rapid breathing or panting and extending their tongue. This process helps evaporate moisture from the surface of the tongue and the oral cavity, which in turn cools the blood. But this is not sweat in the human sense of the word. So when your dog is heavily panting with its tongue out, it isn't sweating, it's actively working to cool itself down. Visual cue: a dog happily sticking out its tongue, with a small puddle underneath its paw, symbolizing the actual location of sweating. Myth number 8. Bulls hate the colour red. Well, that is completely false. Bulls are actually colourblind. They simply can't distinguish between different hues. Their aggression is triggered not by the colour, but purely by the movement of the matador's cape. In fact, the red colour was chosen solely to conceal the blood of the bull. If the matador were waving a green or a blue cape, the bull's reaction would be exactly the same. Imagine a bull quietly chewing grass with a red cape and a blue cape lying side by side. The bull would look right past them, completely indifferent. Myth number 9. Mice love cheese. This is one of the oldest and most enduring myths, constantly reinforced by cartoons. The truth is, mice actually prefer sweets or cereal grains. Strong-smelling cheeses in particular hold no appeal for them. In fact, many kinds of cheese can actually be quite unpleasant for a mouse. Picture a mouse recoiling in disgust from a big wedge of Swiss cheese, opting instead for a tiny piece of candy. Myth number 10. Sharks don't have bones. That statement is almost true. Sharks really don't have bones in the traditional sense we understand them. Their skeletons are actually made entirely of cartilage, which is much lighter and far more flexible than standard bone tissue. This remarkable composition allows sharks to be incredibly flexible and lightning-fast predators. Picture this: an illustration of a shark's skeleton, translucent and made purely of cartilage. It looks incredibly graceful. Myth number 11. Owls cannot move their eyeballs. And it's true. An owl's eyes are fixed in place and face directly forward, much like human eyes. To look sideways, the owl must turn its entire head. But here is the truly incredible part. Owls can rotate their heads almost 360 degrees, specifically up to 270 degrees in either direction. Their necks possess 14 cervical vertebrae, which is double the number found in humans. This allows them to maintain an almost complete 360-degree field of vision. Illustration: visualize an owl with its head rotated completely backwards, staring behind itself, while its eyes remain perfectly fixed in place. Myth number 12. Camels store water in their humps. That's a widespread misconception. Camel humps aren't actually filled with water. They're packed with fat. This fat serves as a crucial reserve for both energy and metabolic water. When a camel breaks down just 1 kilogram of this fat, it generates over 1 kilogram of water. These fat reserves are exactly why camels can survive for extended periods without food or water in harsh desert environments. Illustration note: imagine a camel with a transparent hump, clearly showing the fat reserves inside and not water. Myth number 13. Wolves howl at the moon. Wolves howl to communicate with their pack, define territory, and warn other wolves that they are around. The moon is completely irrelevant here. They can howl at any time of day or night. However, their howls are often heard best at night, especially during a full moon, simply because the atmosphere is calmer and quieter. Illustration: a wolf howling, not at the moon, but at another wolf who is sitting in headphones and can't hear a thing. Myth number 14. The common belief is that crocodiles shed tears of sorrow or regret while consuming their prey. This idea, of course, gave birth to the famous idiom, crocodile tears, which we use to describe fake or insincere regret. The reality, however, is purely physiological. Crocodiles secrete tears while they eat due to a specific physical process. Glands located near the eyes release fluid that is essential for lubricating and moistening the eyes. This process is drastically amplified when the crocodile actively chews, as the powerful jaw movements stimulate the tear ducts. So, if you ever spot a crocodile with huge tears streaming down its face as it devours a fish, rest assured that the look on its face is one of complete indifference. It's just biology in action, not remorse. Myth number 15. That mice love cheese. We've touched on this before, but it bears repeating. This is an incredibly stubborn misconception. In the wild, mice primarily eat grains, fruits, nuts, and insects. Cheese, especially strong-smelling varieties, is actually more of a deterrent. If they eat cheese at all, it's purely out of desperation, when there's absolutely nothing else available. Picture a mouse dramatically pushing aside a plate of cheese, opting instead for the little nut sitting right next to it. Myth number 16. The peacock spreads its tail solely to impress the female. That's only half the story. While it is true that peacocks unfurl their magnificent train to capture a peahen's attention, it also serves as a clear demonstration of their health and vitality. The more distinctive eye spots on the tail, and the brighter the overall plumage, the more appealing the male is perceived to be. Visual description: a peacock with a luxurious tail is trying desperately to impress a peahen, who is completely unfazed and scrolling through her phone. Myth number 17. Dolphins always smile. Dolphins are famous for their characteristic smile, which gives them a universally friendly appearance. But this is purely an anatomical feature, the way their jaw is structured, not an actual expression of emotion. While dolphins, like all complex animals, certainly experience a range of emotions, their permanent grin is never an actual indicator of joy or contentment. Imagine a shot illustrating this point. A dolphin displays its perpetual smile, yet the expression in its eyes conveys deep contemplation, or perhaps even sadness. Myth number 18. Rabbits eat carrots as their main food source. While rabbits certainly enjoy carrots, they should only be given as an occasional treat, not as the primary part of their diet. The foundation of a rabbit's diet must be high-quality hay. Hay is absolutely essential for maintaining proper digestive health and, crucially, for wearing down their continuously growing teeth. Excessive consumption of carrots can lead to serious dental and digestive issues because of their high natural sugar content. Visualize this: a happy rabbit contentedly munching on hay while a piece of carrot sits nearby, reserved like a special dessert. Myth number 19. Pigs are dirty animals. This is a deeply unfair stereotype. If given a choice, pigs are meticulous about keeping their living quarters clean. They love wallowing in the mud, not because they are inherently filthy, but as a way to cool down in the heat and protect themselves from parasites. Since pigs have very few sweat glands, those mud baths are their primary method of thermoregulation. Visual cue: a pig happily cooling off in a clean pond, not a muddy puddle. Myth number 20. Elephants are afraid of mice. This myth likely arose not from the elephant's fear of the mouse itself, but rather its reaction to unexpected movement. Elephants have excellent hearing and vision, coupled with incredibly sensitive skin. If a mouse suddenly darts underneath their feet, the elephant is startled by the abrupt, fast movement, not the rodent itself. Picture this: a massive elephant jumping from surprise as a tiny mouse scurries past its foot, appearing more startled and bewildered than genuinely afraid. Myth number 21. Snakes hypnotize their prey. While a snake might fixate on its victim for a long time, that intense stare is not hypnosis. They are simply waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That unwavering, fixed gaze is actually a key component of their hunting strategy. The prey may freeze, often paralyzed by sheer terror, but this reaction is not the result of any hypnotic effect or mind control. Illustration: a snake staring intently at a mouse, while the mouse attempts to subtly slip away unnoticed. Myth number 22. The belief that polar bears cover their noses to avoid detection. In reality, polar bears do not attempt to conceal their distinct black noses when hunting. They rely instead on their incredible natural camouflage, thick white fur that allows them to seamlessly blend into the snow and ice. Furthermore, their sense of smell is so incredibly acute that they can detect prey from several miles, or even dozens of kilometers, away. Therefore, hiding that small black tip is simply unnecessary. Visual evidence shows a polar bear perfectly camouflaged against the white landscape. While the rest of the animal is virtually invisible, the black nose stands out clearly, a fact the bear makes no effort to change. Myth number 23. Vultures spread disease. In reality, vultures play a crucial role in the ecosystem by cleaning up carrion. Their digestive systems are powerful enough to neutralize the dangerous bacteria and viruses found in decomposing meat. Therefore, they actually prevent the spread of infection. They don't cause it. Picture this: a vulture acting like a natural-born superhero, cleansing the environment of hazardous waste. Myth number 24. Giraffes sleep standing up. While giraffes certainly can doze while standing, they generally sleep lying down, either curled up in a ball or with their neck stretched out along the ground. True deep sleep, the kind necessary for full relaxation, almost always takes place when they are lying down. In the wild, they typically sleep for very short periods, allowing them to remain constantly alert. Illustration: a giraffe peacefully sleeping, curled up comfortably on the ground. Myth number 25. Crocodiles are living fossils. While crocodiles certainly look like ancient reptiles and appear to have changed little over millions of years, they are not, strictly speaking, true living fossils. Although their outward appearance has remained remarkably consistent and instantly recognizable, these animals have continuously evolved and adapted to shifting environments over geologic time. They have simply maintained a successful and familiar body plan. Illustration: imagine a crocodile peering into a mirror, seeing its rough prehistoric ancestor reflected back. However, the modern version is wearing subtle, stylized accessories, a clear nod to the continuous internal and genetic evolutionary changes that have taken place over millennia. Myth number 26. Camels spit for self-defense. While camels certainly spit, it's not strictly a defense mechanism. They typically deploy this tactic to express severe displeasure, to warn off an opponent, or simply when they are highly irritated or feeling threatened. The projectile they launch is particularly nasty because it consists of partially digested food, the actual contents of their stomach. This makes the resulting mess incredibly unpleasant and repulsive. Illustration: picture a disgruntled camel mid-spit, while a person nearby, wearing a look of sheer disgust, frantically wipes the vile substance from their face. Myth number 27. Scorpions commit suicide by stinging themselves. This is a widely held but entirely false assumption. The confusion stems from observing scorpions when they are trapped, for example, surrounded by fire or unable to escape. Extreme heat causes them to move erratically or convulsively, and in their panic they sometimes accidentally jab themselves with their own stinger. However, here's the key biological fact. A scorpion's venom has absolutely no effect on the scorpion itself. Stinging itself will not lead to its death. Picture this: a scorpion frantically tries to escape the flames, accidentally making contact with its own stinger. Despite the action, it remains perfectly fine, alive, and unharmed. Myth number 28. Beavers use their tail as a trowel. The beaver's tail is certainly multifunctional, but not for building. They use it as a rudder for swimming, a counterbalance when standing on their hind legs, and a crucial signalling device, slapping it against the water to warn of danger. Dams and lodges are actually built using their powerful teeth and their front paws. Illustration: a beaver attempts to use its tail as a trowel, fails miserably, and shrugs its shoulders in disappointment. Myth number 29, that kangaroos are just big jumping animals. While their powerful leaps are certainly famous, kangaroos are far more complex creatures than meets the eye. They utilize their sturdy tails not just for balance, but as a powerful fifth limb for support and even defense. And their pouches aren't merely pockets. They are highly specialized, sophisticated incubators for their young. Illustration: a kangaroo using its tail as a crucial third point of contact while performing an acrobatic maneuver, with a curious Joey's face peeking out from the safety of its mother's pouch. Myth number 30. Frogs give you warts. This age-old superstition has absolutely no scientific basis. Warts are actually caused by the human papillomavirus, HPV. Their appearance is completely unrelated to touching frogs or toads. Visual illustration: imagine a person cautiously eyeing a frog, yet warts are clearly popping up on their hand. This visual suggests the true cause lies elsewhere. Myth number 31. Moles are blind. It's true that moles have incredibly tiny eyes, often hidden beneath their fur, and their eyesight is extremely poor. However, they are not completely blind. They can distinguish between light and darkness, and they can perceive movement. But when navigating their underground tunnels, they rely primarily on their sense of smell and touch. Visual: picture a mole wearing glasses, squinting hard to try and see something far off in the distance, while its nose is working overtime, actively sniffing out scents. Myth number 32. Fish don't feel pain. This misconception has persisted for a long time, but modern scientific research shows that fish possess nociceptors, those are the pain receptors, and are capable of experiencing genuine pain and distress. The illustration depicts a fish clutching its fin as though it were injured, staring at the fisherman with a look of deep reproach. Myth number 33. Bears hibernate. Many large predators, including bears, don't actually enter a state of true, deep hibernation. Instead, they experience a milder form of dormancy often referred to as winter sleep or torpor. During this winter sleep, their body temperature drops only slightly, unlike the severe decrease seen in true hibernators. Because of this, bears can be roused very easily. Illustration: a bear sleeping in its den often has one ear slightly raised, constantly listening for any sign of danger. Myth number 34. Octopuses can regrow severed arms. Spoiler alert: this is absolutely true. These cephalopods possess an incredible power of regeneration. If an arm is detached, it doesn't just grow back. The severed limb can actually remain active and twitching for quite some time. Picture the scene. An octopus extends a brand new arm, while the old one lies nearby, still wriggling on the substrate. Myth number 35. Mice love cheese. Yes, we're talking about this one again. I know we've covered it before, but this myth is so incredibly persistent that it truly deserves special attention. It's deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness, thanks entirely to fairy tales and cartoons. But the reality is, cheese is usually a completely unwelcome treat for mice. They much prefer grains, seeds, and foods that are rich in sugar. Picture this: a mouse giving a piece of cheese a thoroughly disdainful sniff, only to happily gobble down a single kernel of grain instead. Myth number 36. Hedgehogs eat apples and mushrooms. While hedgehogs are often pictured carrying apples or mushrooms on their backs, these items are definitely not part of their natural diet. Hedgehogs are primarily insectivores. They feast on beetles, worms and snails, and they may also consume bird eggs or even small rodents. Fruits and fungi might be nibbled on occasionally or accidentally, but they do not form the basis of a hedgehog's diet. Suggested accompanying visual or illustration: picture a confused hedgehog trying to take a bite out of an apple. It's far too big and awkward for it to handle, and it looks at the fruit with utter bewilderment. Myth number 37. Starfish don't move. That is completely false. Starfish actually get around slowly but surely by using thousands of tiny appendages, commonly known as tube feet, located on the underside of their arms. They power these feet using a complex hydraulic system to facilitate movement. Illustration: a starfish slowly yet purposefully creeps along the ocean floor, leaving a faint track in its wake. Myth number 38. Birds will abandon their young if a human touches them. This is perhaps one of the most persistent and widespread wildlife myths out there. The truth is, most birds do not possess a highly developed sense of smell. They simply cannot detect or determine whether a human has handled their young. While a parent bird might abandon its nest if it senses immediate danger or feels the nesting site is threatened, it won't do so purely because of human scent. Case in point, you often see birds calmly returning to their nests, even after a person has gently and cautiously examined a chick or nestling. Myth number 39. Chimpanzees are monkeys. Chimpanzees, along with gorillas, orangutans, and humans, are actually classified as hominids, or great apes. They belong to a distinct family that sets them apart from typical monkeys. The key differences include the absence of a tail and a significantly more complex brain structure. Illustration description: a chimpanzee dressed in a business suit sits at a desk, intently studying a large family tree, searching for its relatives. Myth number 40. Ants are the strongest creatures on the planet. While ants are famously strong and can lift loads significantly exceeding their own, the undisputed pound-for-pound title of the planet's strongest creature actually belongs elsewhere. For instance, the orobatid mite is capable of withstanding a load a staggering 1,180 times its own body weight. Illustration: picture an ant struggling hard to hoist an enormous item, positioned right next to a tiny mite, effortlessly lifting something vastly larger. Myth 41. Oysters always contain pearls. Finding a pearl inside an oyster is actually quite rare. Only about 1 in every 10,000 oysters contains a pearl, and finding one of true jewelry quality is far rarer still. The vast majority of oysters contain no pearls whatsoever. Illustration: imagine a person tirelessly shucking one oyster after another, hoping for that perfect gem, but finding nothing but meat. Myth number 42. Parrots are capable of imitating human speech. Parrots aren't truly imitating speech in the way humans understand it. They merely repeat the sounds and words they hear, without grasping their actual meaning. While they can associate specific sounds with certain situations or triggers, this still doesn't constitute genuine, meaningful language. Illustration: imagine a parrot repeating the phrase, "Hello, how are you?" while staring back at you with a completely blank expression. Myth number 43. That mother bears do not wake up to give birth during hibernation. In fact, during the period of winter sleep, or more accurately, winter dormancy, the mother bear absolutely does give birth to her cubs. She wakes up enough to care for them, feed them, and lick them clean. But her overall metabolic rate remains dramatically suppressed. This is a highly unusual biological phenomenon. A mother giving birth and nursing her offspring while still in a state of extended torpor. For illustration purposes, imagine a mother bear in a deep doze with tiny cubs peacefully sleeping beside her as she gently licks them clean. Myth number 44. Cats purr only when they are happy. A cat's purr is actually a much more complex sound than most people realise. While cats purr when they are content, they also purr when they are in pain, scared, or under stress. This behaviour may serve as a self-healing mechanism or a way for the animal to self-soothe. Visual description: a cat purring yet showing clear signs of distress or anxiety on its face. Myth number 45. Dogs see the world in black and white. This is a persistent and very common misconception. Dogs do not actually see the world in just black and white, but their colour perception is definitely different from human vision. They perceive the world primarily in hues of blue and yellow. As for red and green, those colours tend to show up as varying shades of grey to them. Illustration: imagine a dog looking at a bright, colourful scene. To the dog, That world might look like a painting where the artist used only blue and yellow pigments. Myth number 46. Kangaroos can't move backward. It is certainly challenging for them to move in reverse, largely due to the unique structure of their powerful legs and heavy, balancing tail. However, that doesn't mean the feat is completely impossible. In very rare instances, they can manage a few awkward steps backward, but this is definitely not their natural mode of locomotion. Visual cue or illustration. Picture a kangaroo straining with great effort to take a single step in reverse, looking completely clumsy as it does so. Myth 47. Bats are birds. Wrong. Bats are the only mammals capable of true sustained flight. They are completely unrelated to birds. Their wings are modified forelimbs, not feathers. Illustration. A bat attempting to wear bird feathers, which clearly don't fit. Myth number 48. Dolphins are fish. This is another common misconception. Dolphins are actually mammals that live in the water. They are warm-blooded, breathe air using lungs, give birth to live young, and nurse their calves with milk. Visualizing this, a dolphin proudly holding up its birth certificate, which clearly states, mammal. Myth number 49. Ostriches have tiny brains. While an ostrich's head does look tiny compared to its massive body, its brain is certainly not so small that it impairs its intelligence. Ostriches are actually quite intelligent and highly adaptive birds, showing a strong capacity for learning. Picture this, an illustration of an ostrich sitting at a school desk, solving complex math problems. His head looks huge, simply because it's absolutely stuffed with knowledge. Myth number 50. Swans are always monogamous. While swans frequently form bonds that last a lifetime, they aren't always strictly faithful. They do, in fact, divorce for several reasons. These often include the inability to successfully produce offspring or the death of a partner. Visualization. Two swans swimming in opposite directions, almost as if they've just had an argument. So there we have it. We've successfully debunked 50 long-standing animal myths, facts that many of us took for granted as unshakable truths. From the incredible memory of goldfish to the complex reasons chameleons change colour, these facts completely transform our understanding of the animal kingdom. It turns out the world of animals is far more complex, interesting, and surprising than we ever imagined. After all, who would have thought that crocodile tears are just a biological function, or that bulls couldn't care less about the colour red, that pigs are actually extremely clean creatures, and that lemmings definitely do not commit mass suicide? These are just a few examples of the dozens of misconceptions we managed to set straight today. I truly hope you had fun and learnt something new. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the end of the video. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more amazing facts, and of course, leave a comment below. Which of these 50 myths surprised you the most? And do you have any other fascinating animal myths you'd like us to debunk next time?